Coming up on Network Africa. At least 3 people have been killed, 200 others injured following a train collision in Pretoria. The US military claims to have killed 6 Islamist militants in an airstrike in Somalia. And Zimbabwean teachers begin strike action to press for US dollars salaries. Hello and welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Teniola Shubowale. We begin in South Africa, where at least 3 people have been killed after a train collision at a station in Mountain View area, northwest of the capital, Pretoria. Rescue officials say close to 200 others sustained minor injuries. The accident is believed to have occurred when 2 trains collided during the early morning rush hour commute. The spokesperson for Metro Rail says there are still people trapped under the rain and officials and emergency services are trying to reach them. Train crashes happen often for various reasons in South Africa. On January 4, 2018, a passenger train collided with a truck on a level crossing at Geneva Station, killing 21 people. The African National Congress is celebrating 107 years today. The continent's oldest liberation movement is South Africa's governing party since the end of apartheid in 1994. Local media says the party celebrates amid deep divisions, factionalism and a series of corruption allegations. Birthday celebrations are planned for the weekend in the coastal city of Durban, where President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to deliver the party's annual birthday statement. It was on this day in 1912 when African leaders gathered in South Africa to fight against colonialism and the scourge of racial oppression. President Ramaphosa has been using the birthday to campaign ahead of this year's general elections.
We have chosen to come here at the resting place of the first president of the African National Congress, Reverend John Langalibalele Dube, to signify how firmly our present is embedded in our past. We are here also to affirm the unbreakable thread that binds together the successive generations of gallant freedom fighters who have sought to further the cause of human freedom and progress. We are here not to mark the mere passage of time, but we are here, comrades, to honor and celebrate a vision that was formed more than a century ago. The ANC has been around for a very long time, and it's an ANC that is steeped in tradition, in experience, and it always knows what it is doing.
Let's go now to our South African correspondent, Natasha Piri. Hello, Natasha. Well, first, let's take a look at the devastating crash that happened this morning, just a few days into the new year. What more do we know about this accident?
Well, good afternoon to you and, of course, to the viewers. Unfortunately, yes, we woke up to the news that 3 people had indeed lost their lives in a train collision that occurred here in South Africa in Tshwane at the Mountain View train station. And, of course, 300 people were actually injured. Out of those 300 people, 82 had moderate injuries and 159 had light injuries. All of these commuters were actually transported to the nearby hospitals. In earlier reports, we had heard that commuters were trapped inside the train, but just speaking to one of the officials from the Department of Transport, they had confirmed to us that indeed all those passengers are now free. No one is no longer trapped inside a train. But to actually just take you through, the comments and the people that have been commenting on this matter, we've heard ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, giving his messages of condolences, his heartfelt messages to those families who've lost their loved ones. He had also asked, for an inquiry into the matter, and had also wished those who were injured, speedy recovery. We've also seen the Mayoral Executive Committee member who's in charge of the Transport Portfolio Committee, Dr. Ishmael Vaidi, actually going to the scene of the train collision. He was somewhat also quite angered by the situation, saying that this could have been avoided, and has actually asked the South African Rail Agency to actually look into the matter, to start an inquiry into this issue and actually put this matter to rest. He had said also, however, that measures need to be put in place where commuters' lives are actually prioritized and somewhat put forward. We've seen the mayor of Tshwane also coming out as well. They saying that he would visit the families of the deceased, also calling for an inquiry to be established as to what happened. As you know, that the spokesperson of the rail agency had actually released a statement saying that the cause of the accident was that both trains were actually on the same railway. So that might have been the cause of the accident. But of course, investigations into that matter will actually, be pending as of now. We do know that, however, such incidences have occurred before. Just last year around this time, the same incident had occurred. October also last year in 2018, the same incident.
Well, Natasha, it's good that you said that the people that were trapped. I don't know if you can hear me. Natasha, it's good news that you said that the people that were trapped have been rescued now. But what about the people that were injured? And the death toll, is it expected to rise at this point, or are we in good report right now?
Well, 300 people have been injured. It's just moderate to light injuries. As of now, the death toll actually stands at 3. By my understanding, there was a statement that was released by the National Minister of Transport, Dr. Blade Nzimande, and he's actually going to the scene roundabout right now to actually assess the situation. So we are still yet to hear if the death toll will rise, and what the actual cause of the accident and the train collision is will actually be.
Natasha, I can't imagine what the families of the victims are going through. Thanks for updating us on that story. But just before I let you go, the ANC is celebrating 107 years today. What do South Africans think of the party and how far it has come?
Well, definitely, as you've correctly mentioned, the ANC is turning, or has turned 107 years today. And we've seen the party, being the oldest liberation movement in Africa, roll out massive campaigns within the province of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. We've seen the president conducting door-to-door campaigns as early as 6 o'clock in the morning today. He started off at local taxi ranks around local areas like Impangeni, and then therefore embarked later on at a wreath-laying ceremony in Ohlange. And of course, this is the resting place of the president of the ANC, Reverend John Langalibale Dube. And of course, that is when he was actually addressing the masses, not only ANC members, but community members, but also just quite interestingly observing his interaction with the ordinary person on the street. Some have raised their grievances about the high unemployment rate in South Africa. As you know, that it stands at 27.7%. So some have actually raised their concerns and grievances, saying that the ANC needs to do something about it. As you know, that the ANC will be launching its manifesto campaign on Saturday. And of course, this will set the tone for the country as to what people can expect. You also know that this quite is an interesting year for South Africans, as we also, like the Nigerians, head to the poll around May this year. So the manifesto launch of the ANC will actually set the tone as to, how the ANC-led government actually deals with problems or issues that are facing the economy. Also issues around our policies, more especially land expropriation without compensation. I mean, this year is also interesting, is that the celebrations this year coincide with the 60th anniversary of Peter Mokaba. That would be the late ANC Youth League leader, who was dubbed as a very robust and militant leader. And as, of course, you know that this year the ANC Youth League will also be holding their own conference. So it'd be quite interesting to actually see what comes out of Saturday, the manifesto launch, and what the ANC will be focusing on this year.
Well, I'm sure, Natasha, you'll be keeping an eye on that for us. Thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa today. Moving on now, the United States military says it has killed 6 Islamist militants in an airstrike in Somalia. The attack in the Lower Shabelle region in the south of the country is the latest in a series that the U.S. says has killed more than 60 al-Shabaab fighters in the past month. In a statement, the Pentagon said the latest attack was mounted to reduce al-Shabaab's freedom of movement and to increase pressure on its network in the area. The U.S. and Somali militaries have stepped up airstrike against al-Shabaab Islamist fighters. In March 2017, the Pentagon received White House approval to expand its fight against the militants in the Horn of Africa nation. The situation in Gabon is still unclear a day after soldiers attempted a coup as the government shut down the internet and broadcasting services. Authorities say 2 of the soldiers who took part in Monday's attempted coup have been killed. They were reportedly shot dead after security officers stormed the National Radio building, which they had taken over. 3 others remain under arrest. Yesterday, junior officers claimed they seized power to restore democracy in the oil-rich nation. A spokesperson for the government says the army generals, civil society and opposition leaders mentioned in the rebel statement as potential supporters would also be investigated. The current president, Ali Bongo, has been out of the country for almost 2 months. Zimbabwean teachers have embarked on a strike action to press for US dollar salaries as talks with the government failed to resolve the issue. Cash shortages have plunged Zimbabwe's financial system into dismay, threatening social crisis and undermining President Emmerson Mnangagwa's effort to win back foreign investors sidelined under his predecessor, Robert Mugabe. With not enough hard currency to back up funds showing in bank accounts, the value of electronic money has plummeted. Government doctors have been on strike for more than a month over the same issue.
It's an impossible situation in Zimbabwe for all as schools resume.
We are having a challenge in terms of the school fees and the school uniforms. The prices have just hiked beyond our reach. So we have struggled this time.
I don't really know how they managed, but I'm so happy that they were able to pay me the school fees that I should go to school, and I'm so happy, and I hope that I'll be able to come back with good results.
While these ones can return to school, many others like Tinotenda Kokwaya, who is supposed to be returning for her final high school year, face a sad reality.
This year I'm not going back to school. I will sit at home and help my mother doing house chores, or I will look for a job. My school fees now is $365 in bonds, and it's too much. My parents cannot afford it. I also have siblings who are going to school starting grade 1 and ECD. They need a lot of books and a lot of things are required at the school.
Added to this dilemma is the teachers' fight for better salaries. Teachers are paid 300 bond notes or real-time gross settlement RTGS, an equivalent of $100 per month. Now they are demanding $3,000 apart from their outstanding bonus owed by government. A meeting did take place on Monday afternoon between the Zimbabwean Minister for Local Government, Public Works and National Housing, July Moyo, and the various labor leaders, the outcome of which was seen totally differently by the different sides participating.
It was a very amicable discussion. The conclusion of this discussion is that they should now, whether immediately now or tomorrow, go into negotiations where government will offer in terms of ameliorating the plight of the civil service. in the areas that they have demanded.
We were bombarded with lectures on the performance of the economy. You know, our demand was very simple. Teachers and other civil servants are severely incapacitated. And what we expect the government to do was to say, we are adjusting your salaries to this magnitude to match the goings on in the economy. So nothing of that sort was discussed.
We're not going to close the schools, but we're saying that some teachers will be there to man the schools, whilst others will be coming the following day. So we're rotating because we're incapacitated.
This situation, of course, has parents who have, at great pains, prepared their wards to return to school quite worried.
We're not very sure whether the children are going to school to learn, or they're just going there to be packed there, to stay in the dormitories. Because the teachers also require to be paid sufficient money. That's a question already answered by the strike action. Hopefully, a middle ground settlement can be reached soon enough in order to soften an already impossible situation. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
We'll have more on the Zimbabwe strike action after the break, but still ahead. Congolese citizens bemoan days with internet and shutdown before election results. Please stay with us.